What's up, y'all? It's Nick here from GridironTalkZone to do my top 40 quarterbacks in the NFL currently heading into the 2023 NFL season. So this is not a projection. I'm going to do that video later. This is a current rankings. So what I did is I went back, watched some film from the starting quarterbacks from last year that I project to be starters this year, and I looked at some advanced stats, took notes. I have a criteria I put together, and it factors in each aspect of quarterback play and how much I value it. And then that gets a criteria score, and then I rank them based off that, and I split them up into tiers. I'm just going to say this is going to be controversial. I do this every year. I tend to have different quarterback rankings than the consensus. Sometimes they age good, sometimes they age bad. But again, not a projection. That video will be later. But I'm going to go ahead and explain the tiers. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So going from bottom to top, looking at tier 8, I have top backup. So numbers 33 through 40 are going to be the top 8 backups in my opinion. Tier number 7, the rookie starters, I actually have 4 guys that I project to at least start for a good chunk of the back end of the year or most of the year for their teams as rookies. So I put them here. I'm later on going to do projected rankings before the season starts, and those guys will be boosted up if I think that they're going to be better than, obviously, the bottom quarterbacks of the league as a rookie. Tier 6, this is the Fringe Starter tier. These guys are quarterbacks that I don't think are going to be starters in the league much longer. This will probably be their last year starting, in my opinion. Tier 5, below average. This is usually the below average tier when I do this every year, but right now it just kind of has a chunk of 3 young guys that kind of haven't had the experience yet to prove themselves, but I think they're better than the Fringe Starters in Tier 6, so they ended up in Tier 5. On to Tier 4, there's a ton of guys in this list. I believe I have 9 guys who are part of the average-ish tier. So this is a tier of quarterbacks who I believe are around that average range to maybe a little bit above average, but I believe there's missing parts in the game that holds them back from being with the guys in the good tier. Tier number 2, this is the borderline elite. Only 3 guys in this tier. Top 6 are elite and borderline elite. 4 through 6 is going to be the borderline elite. 3 guys that I think are just a step below the top 3 elite guys, but they'll definitely stand out as top quarterbacks in this league. Tier 1, 3 guys here, the best of the best, the elite guys. Usually I define elite for a case to be the best quarterback in football. I believe there's kind of a guy who's a little step ahead of the others at 1, but I think 2 and 3 are real close to him, and, at some points they could be playing like the best quarterback in football. But so tier 1, just the elite, the best of the best, the guys who are the top quarterbacks in football. On to the rankings. Here you see I have my tier 8 top backups. So these are the top 8 backups in football, in my opinion. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. Starting at number 40, Bailey Zappi. Obviously, he's going into his second year with the Patriots, but in the little chunk of the games he played early in the season last year when Mac Jones went down with an injury, Zappi showed that he could play with his pocket presence, his good touch on his throws. I think he's a pretty good pocket quarterback who, if he has to play, he can be one of the better backups in football. Number 39, Carson Wentz. Wentz hasn't been signed yet. That's why you see I don't have a team next to his name, but I still believe he's a top 40 quarterback in football. He may be inconsistent, but just the stretches of play, he can put together some high-end stretches of play and some low-end stretches of play. And I just think what's been his problem is his recklessness and his inconsistency as a quarterback, but I think because of his talent, he has to be in the top 40. Number 38, Davis Mills, a guy who's kind of similar to Zappi in my opinion. We've just seen a little bit more of him. He can show flashes of being a pretty good pocket passing quarterback. I just don't feel like he has overall a ton of talent, and he doesn't really stretch the field well. That's why he's not higher on this list, but definitely one of the better backups in football with some starter experience. Minshew, similar to that Mills-ish quarterback, just the talent isn't going to pop off the screen, but I feel like he just has a quality to him where there can be games he needs to come in and he can get the job done and win you the game. Just with what he provides to the team. He isn't, again, the most talented quarterback, but I like enough of his game to where I can say he's a top 8 backup. 36, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's a tough one. So he's only on this list because of the last what, like 5 6 games he played in Carolina. He was pretty good. He was starting to get the team to win some games, put them in playoff position with the Bucks, and they ended up losing that game. But anyway, Darnold, obviously we know he has enough talent to be a starting quarterback. He was drafted number 2 overall. He just kind of hasn't put it together. He's been inconsistent, but I think he showed enough late last year to where I'm comfortable putting him as one of the best backups in football. And if he gets a shot to play in San Francisco this year with Kyle Shanahan and those weapons, who knows? Maybe he could be a starting quarterback next year, even next year, if he does something with San Francisco this year. 35, Mitch Trubisky. I think he's similar to Sam Darnold as, yes, he has some talent, but he's just been very inconsistent. But I believe he's put together some pretty good stretches of play throughout his career with the Bears. He had, I believe, 2 winning seasons with the Bears, played in 2 playoff games with the Bears. So he has that experience on his back. Just because he didn't live up to his draft position doesn't mean he's not a good quarterback. Well, it's not that he's a good quarterback, but I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I think Mitch Trubisky could still be a starter in this league, a low end starter with some of the guys who are going to be in the fringe starter tier. Um, but he is a backup quarterback right now, and I think he's one of the better ones to have as a backup. 34 and 33, these two guys are neck and neck. Both started last year for a good chunk of the season and actually way outperformed their expectation. But Jacoby Brissett and Andy Dalton, I think these are the two clear best backups in football. Brissett, he's been a starter on multiple teams. You look at the Patriots, he had to start a few games um, way back in like 2016. The Colts, he started after Andrew Luck retired. The Dolphins, he played some when Tua was hurt a few years ago. And then last year, he started the majority of the games for the Browns, and he played like a top 20, top 15-ish quarterback in football. Um, he's not going to make too much mistakes. He can be a pretty solid accuracy passing quarterback from the pocket, and he provides some rushing ability too. So, pretty solid player here at number 34. 33, Dalton. Obviously, he has a long experience in the league, being a veteran, being a Pro Bowl quarterback in the past, but last few years, he's really found his place as a high end backup. And when he needs to start, like he did for New Orleans last year, he can play pretty well. Pretty good pocket quarterback. Not going to do too much to wow you, but he does enough to get the job done. And he's one of the best backups, and I believe he's going to be a good mentor for Bryce Young. Moving on to the rookie starters, number 32, Clayton Tune. Rookie quarterback out of Houston. This may seem like a bit of a surprise. So I am not ranking Kyler Murray because I believe the Cardinals just going to be bad this year. And Murray's injured, coming off an ACL. When they're like 1-4, 1-5, and Murray maybe gets cleared to play, I really don't think that they're going to play him or he's going to play much because there's really no reason to. Your team is obviously going to be very bad this year, just looking at the roster. But talking about Clayton Tune, I had a round 2 grade on him coming out of Houston this year. I believe he kind of reminds me a little bit of a Brock Purdy. Maybe he can have an Andy Dalton-ish career. Also, kind of see him as a better version of Bailey Zappe, who came out of the draft a few years ago. He's just a really good pocket passing quarterback with elite accuracy. Like, I think outside of Bryce Young and maybe Stroud, he's up there with the most accurate quarterbacks in the last draft. So I really do like that about him. Pretty good athlete too. He does have a good arm and he can throw the ball downfield. Little bit slow mentally processing the field and doesn't throw with the best anticipation, but I believe he showed enough at Houston to make me think he can beat out Colt McCoy. And I've heard he's had some buzz coming out of camp, so I think he can beat out Colt McCoy, and I think he's going to be starting a majority of the games down the stretch of the season. So that's why I ranked him here at number 32. My number 31 quarterback is CJ Stroud. So Stroud, I have him as my third ranked rookie behind Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson. Well, I do think there's a lot to like in Stroud. I think that it's not going to click as quick as people think. Obviously, the things I like about him is his size, his strength, vision. He just has the ability to put the ball anywhere he wants it. Good pocket presence, really probably up there with Bryce Young for the best pocket passer in the draft, and a guy like Clayton Tune, who I just mentioned. Very good arm from CJ Stroud. There's a reason why he was picked high. He has all the tools. Um, I just think that the other two guys have more tools than him and are more talented than Stroud. And one thing with Stroud is he did play at Ohio State. I noticed watching his tape a little bit of a lack of anticipation, really just waiting until guys get wide open with the big time receivers he had. Marvin Harrison Jr., obviously. So I think there's a little bit where he's going to have to anticipate some throws. Like you saw Bryce Young, he would anticipate throws because he didn't have the highest end receivers. Where he just sling a throw in a tight window and make the throw. Stroud, it was really kind of the mental part of waiting until they get wide open then to throw it. So I think moving on to a faster pace NFL game, that's going to be a little bit of his struggles as a rookie. Is just anticipation, making the throws on time into title windows than he had at Ohio State. So I think there's a little bit more of a transition aspect to the NFL than people think. So I have him ranked here at 31. On to number 30, my second ranked rookie quarterback going into the season, Anthony Richardson. Now, we all know Richardson has all the tools to be an elite NFL quarterback one day. The elite arm, the elite speed and size, fairly good runner. I think there's a little bit of misconception with him, though, that he's just an all ultra athlete and not a polished passer at all. Well, some of that is true. He was only a sophomore in college last year, so he has to grow as a passer from an accuracy standpoint because the accuracy is obviously the big issue in his game. But I think overall, his pocket presence and his ability to throw the football is better than people think. And I believe he has a high floor even as a rookie because of just that athletic rushing ability. Um, but yeah, just the decision making and accuracy is going to be the points where I believe he struggles as a rookie. But I believe that he's still going to keep improving as a passer, and his rookie year is not going to be as much of a disaster as maybe some people think it will be, just because people think he's very raw, which he is raw. But I think he's a little bit more polished than people want to admit. But I have him here at number 30. We'll see if he starts right away or if Minshew starts right away. But I believe Richardson's going to end up starting most of the Colts games this year. Have him at number 30. My number 29 quarterback and my top ranked rookie quarterback in this rookie tier. Again, I'm going to project guys in a future video. So Bryce Young's the guy who I think is going to probably be in the top 25, maybe top 20 in my projected rankings. Bryce Young, number 29 right now as a rookie. I like him a lot. Super smart, progresses through his reads, just has that just like amazing accuracy talent in his game to where you just see that he can put the ball anywhere he wants it, fit it in pretty much any tight window and in any part of the field, whether it's deep, intermediate, short. I think he's going to have that anticipation, that accuracy that you want to see out of a rookie quarterback that makes him pro ready. Obviously, the concern is the size, which I think, yes, it'll be a little bit of adjustment, but he did play in the SEC, which has the biggest athletes in college football, the best competition. One thing that I wish he did more at Alabama was push the ball downfield. And I'm concerned with Carolina right now that they don't have those deep threats, that it could become a little bit of a situation like Tua Tagovailoa early in his career until he got Hill and Waddle, where he couldn't really push the ball downfield at a big enough rate to scare the defense. So it made his play not look as good as it probably should have been. So I think that could be a concern with Bryce Young's really team. But as far as a prospect and as far as a quarterback, I think Bryce Young has a bright future in the NFL. On to number 28, Baker Mayfield, now of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, top 28 guys, these are the starters who have played in the NFL before, who I believe are going to be starters this year. And we're in the fringe starter tier right now. So, Baker Mayfield, I think this is probably his last stop as a starting quarterback in Tampa Bay. Um, Obviously, he's had a roller coaster of the last few years, going from the Browns to the Panthers to the Rams. And Will Baker had his moments on the Rams. Um, it still overall wasn't the best play out of him. Really struggles under pressure. Looking at his pocket presence, he panics in the pocket a lot. Struggles with anticipation. Pretty inconsistent accuracy all over the field. Questionable decision making too. Put the ball in traffic and harm's way a lot. But a few things to like. He is pretty good still at throwing on the run. Pretty good athlete. I believe he's a fit in the West Coast style offense that I think that they will be running in Tampa Bay this year. Um, Pretty good arm too. He's had moments in his career where he's threatened you with the deep ball, but recently he hasn't. Mainly maybe because that has to do with chemistry, going from team to team, having injured receivers on the Rams. Just struggling with the chemistry, but If the Bucks can get him to roll out, make plays on the run with his legs, with his arm, and maybe get a downfield connection with Evans, there could be moments to like out of Baker. But overall, I have him as my 28th best quarterback in the NFL. On to number 27, my other guy who I have in the fringe starter tier, Jimmy Garoppolo of the Raiders. So I'm a big believer that Shanahan had a lot to do with the success with Jimmy Garoppolo under center because watching his tape, I just see so many flaws in his game that make me not be able to rank him much higher, any higher than this, really. But starting with the positives, Garoppolo, he is a pretty good pocket passer. That's why I gave him a 6 out of 7 for pocket presence. He's one of the, I guess you could say, top 10, 12-ish pocket passers in the league, in my opinion. Poised, moves well in the pocket, makes good throws in the pocket, and he's a pretty good passer over the middle of the field, too. And I like the zip he puts on his throws, just to if you want a quarterback who can pass over the middle of the field, put some zip on his throws, Jimmy Garoppolo has that talent. But outside of that, just the deep ball doesn't scare you at all. That's why I gave it a 2 out of 10. The play under pressure has been points where he really struggles in his 49ers career. Very shaky accuracy, makes questionable decisions, just puts the ball in harm's way or throws it right into coverage. So there's just so many flaws in his game where I'm just have to factor in, so I can't rank him high. And on top of that, he doesn't provide much mobility, making throws on the run or rushing. So I really believe that this is probably his last stop as a starter in the NFL here in Vegas. On to number 26. These are the guys in the quote unquote below average tier, but these are actually guys with young upside, just haven't had much NFL experience, so I can't rank them higher than this. But I've actually seen flashes from all these guys who are in this tier of being good quarterbacks. So I think these are kind of the young upside guys, the next three. 26, Desmond Ritter. Going into Desmond Ritter's tape that I watched recently, I expected to have him with the fringe starters with Garoppolo and Mayfield, thinking, okay, this is probably his, one shot to start, and I don't think it's going to work out. But more I watch him, I think it might work out. So he only started 4 games last year. But each game he improved. First two games were rough. The week 17 game, pretty solid. The week 18 game versus the Bucks, he actually looked pretty good. So he has a pretty solid pocket poise, in my opinion. Can make throws from the pocket, over the middle of the field. Um, Pretty smart player. He kept the ball out of harm's way. He actually had the second lowest turnover worthy percentage in the league last year. Granted, it was only 4 games, but still impressive. Um, what I like too is he would get the ball quick out under pressure. Like he wasn't taking sacks, so he had pocket poise, smart decision maker, and didn't really take sacks. So just the mental aspect was better than I thought it would be, and he improved each game. So I like that. Some flaws in his game that I think he needs to clean up going forward as a starter is he really does struggle with the accuracy. He'll just miss wide open guys, but he still has room to grow, time to grow, and I think he has a pretty good offense around him to help him with that. He doesn't wow you with the arm strength, so he's not going to really scale you throwing the ball downfield. But I believe he can still throw it downfield accurately enough to be effective. Just not going to really stretch the field amazingly and scale the defense that way. But overall, I liked some of what I saw from Desmond Ritter, and I think he can maybe be the Falcon starter moving forward, especially with the team that they put around him. On to number 25. This is a quarterback who I actually thought should have been a late first round pick in the 2021 NFL draft, the 2022 NFL draft, my bad. But he ended up falling to the 5th round. Sam Howell, Washington Commanders. I think that there's a lot to like with Sam Howell, and in his one game last year with a Week 18 game versus Dallas, in which he won, he showed some promise. First off, he has a pretty solid pocket presence. Not gonna be like the best pocket passer in football or anything like that, but he has pretty good solid pocket presence to him to make throws. He can make plays under pressure. Nice arm, can make big time throws downfield, which I really like. And he has good mobility. He can be one of the 10 best rushing quarterbacks in football. And he can make throws outside the pocket on the run. So I believe he has a lot of tools and traits to his game to like. I just believe he is still kind of raw and has to clean it up. The accuracy is inconsistent. It's going to have to improve in his second year now. But Washington put a pretty good team around him, and I think he has a shot to be the future franchise quarterback. So I have Sam Howell at 25. On to number 24, Jordan Love. So Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers, What keeps him ahead of the other two guys, Hal and Riddle, is just one, he's had a little bit more experience in the NFL, and two, his talent just is ahead of those guys. His arm talent pops off the screen. Like, just zipping throws over the middle versus Philadelphia last year. He made a sideline throw to Aaron Jones that was dropped, but it was like, wow, what a throw. Just he caught it, or caught the ball from under the center, obviously, and just zipped it down the sideline. Aaron Jones' back shoulder dropped it, but just an impressive throw. He can make those big time throws. Arm talent pops off the screen. He can make plays out of the pocket. His tape improved from 2021 to 2022. Um, just watching the preseason tape, the one start versus the Chiefs, and then the little bit of action versus Philadelphia last year, you can just see improvements in his game, which I think is good for Packers fans. But he does need to clean up his overall accuracy and just um, overall playing quarterback in the NFL needs to clean up. And but I believe he can do that, and I think he's shown improvements in the little bit we've seen of him, and he has the talent that pops off the screen. So wouldn't shock me if Jordan Love was ranked 10 spots higher than this next year, because I think he does have a somewhat bright future in the NFL. So on to the average tier. This tier actually has 9 guys. These are the guys who I think are average to slightly above average, maybe. Just have some flaws in the game that keep them out of the good tier. But starting at number 23, Deshaun Watson. Right off the bat, Deshaun Watson is the hardest guy to rank on this entire list, in my opinion, and for many of reasons that I'll get into. But just diving into it, Watson, he took a step down whenever he played for the Browns compared to the MVP ball we saw him play with the Texans. Um, he looked a little bit off as far as an athlete. He wasn't making the big time plays on the run or outside the pocket that we saw him make in the past, but the rushing ability was still there, and I believe he's going to continue to get back in shape, and those plays will eventually come. But the deep ball wasn't really there either. Just making plays downfield like he did with the Texans, that part of his game was gone. The the overall intelligence didn't make the best decisions on the field like we saw him make in the past. Um, Play under pressure really struggled too. Like you can argue that he was the worst quarterback under pressure in the league last year. Just any time he had pressure, he just didn't really escape the pocket well. He would often step into pressure, just wasn't making big throws under pressure. So just a lot to his game that you didn't expect to see that you saw. So that's why he's just hard to rank because projecting, this isn't projected, this is just right now. But in my projected rankings, I mean, should I rank him to get back to his old form? Should I rank him to be kind of in the middle? Take another step down? I don't know. He's a tough guy to rank, but I think he has to improve based on what he did last year and based on the talent that we know he has. Just don't think that talent just goes away, but I think it's going to be just kind of getting back into the groove of things. But overall, his accuracy is still pretty good, so that was nice to see. Still has that nice bounce in the pocket, nice pocket poise that he's had throughout his career. So I like some things in his game, but a lot to clean up and try to get back to his old form. On to number 22, Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. Whenever I said that this list was going to be controversial, I was talking about rankings like this. So there's a consensus opinion that Dak is a borderline top 10 quarterback or that he's kind of in that Kirk Cousins tier. Personally, I don't see that one bit and I don't understand that comparison. And we're going to get into it because I'm just kind of confused by the overall consensus opinion on Dak Prescott. So starting off with Dak Prescott, I'm just going to rattle off some numbers. PFF grade 21st last year. Adjusted complete percentage 23rd. Deep yards 19th. Kept clean grade 27th. Under pressure grade 21st. Turnover worthy play percentage 30th, meaning 30th lowest. Like first being lowest, 30th being very high. So high turnover worthy play rate. And it showed that with, I believe, 15 interceptions in 12 games. He was on pace to throw over 20 interceptions. Rushing yards 15th. Not amazing, took a step down as a rusher, but still capable of rushing. But overall, I just see a lot of like either like mid or bad in his game. I don't see anything that he does very good or great. That's why I can't rank him high. He wins games because he's on a very good team. Accuracy, 9 out of 15. Deep ball, 7 out of 10. Pocket presence, 5 out of 7. One of his better parts of his game, pretty solid. Play under pressure, 4 out of 7. Solid, struggles sometimes, not amazing. Intelligence, throw on run first, 2 out of 5. Doesn't do much on the run outside the pocket, doesn't wow you as an athlete at all. Intelligence on the field, 1 out of 5. Makes a lot of poor decisions, puts the ball in harm's way very often, It showed that with his high interception rate last year. Rushing, 2 out of 5. Capable, not amazing. Clutch ability, 1 out of 4. When do we see Dak put together big clutch drives to win games? Or have clutch big playoff moments? He had a good game versus the Bucks last year. I'll give him credit for that in the playoffs. But outside of that, that's been a part that we just haven't seen throughout him in his career very often. Consistency, 2 out of 3. Availability, 2 out of 3. Total score, 35 out of 64, ranking 22nd in my list. So I think if I'm the Cowboys, I mean, you gave him a very good team right now. Very good O-line. Good running game. Did lose Kellen Moore, so I'm concerned about that. As the OC. Gave him a high end number 2 and Brandon Cooks to go along with your top 10 receiver, CeeDee Lamb. The defense now has 2 number 1 corners in Stephon Gilmore, Trevon Diggs. Good pass rush led by arguably the best defensive player in football, Micah Parsons. So this team, they don't get to the NFC Championship game at least. I don't know if I see them bringing Dak back. I believe he's playing for his next contract right now, and he needs to take a step up for him to get that next contract. So right now, I have Dak at 22nd. I just don't see a lot that he does very good, and I see a lot that he struggles with, or is just average at. So that's going to result in being an average quarterback and towards the bottom of the average quarterback tier, in my opinion. So I have Dak at 22. Number 21, quarterback for the 49ers, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, small sample size, but um, I think I'm comfortable with putting him in the kind of towards the bottom of the average tier at 21. I believe he showed enough to say I can make him an average, or I believe he's an average quarterback. Looking at what Purdy does well, the accuracy, I have 11 out of 15. I believe he showed he's capable of making accurate throws consistently. Pocket presence, 5 out of 7, does that pretty well. Showed a good ability to get the ball out and improvise under pressure and make throws on the run, so I like that out of his game. Things he needs to improve on, though. Doesn't stretch the ball downfield well, doesn't scale you with the deep ball. Hopefully, more time, more chemistry. Hopefully, that can improve this year, but that's something that I think limits him, in my opinion. Intelligence, 2 out of 5, but he's growing, he's young. I expect him to improve. Rushing ability, he's mobile, but he's not going to scale you rushing the football at all. So overall, Brock Purdy, I think that those things to like and those things he does well, like the pocket presence, the accuracy, the play under pressure, the improvising, throw on the run. But I think he's a young quarterback, needs to improve mentally and just continue to improve and hopefully stretch the ball downfield, and he can make a pretty good jump. But he's on a good team, has a good situation around him, so I'm comfortable with ranking Brock Purdy here at 21. At number 20, I have Ryan Tannehill. So Ryan Tannehill is a quarterback who, a few years ago, you can make a case he was borderline top 10. He was playing very well for the Titans, and he has regressed a little bit over the last few years, in my opinion. But looking at his game, what I think he still does well is I think he has a pretty good pocket presence about him. And he can make plays under pressure, getting the ball out quick under pressure. Um, Somewhat good decision maker. That's never been like a big issue in my opinion. I mean, did struggle a little bit in 2021, but 2022 got back on track as far as a decision maker. But there's just limitations I see. I think he regressed as an athlete, doesn't make as many plays on the run outside the pocket as much, and he regressed as a rushing threat. Um, the accuracy, it's solid, but not amazing. And the deep ball has regressed too. Never had the biggest arm strength, but he was still able to make plays downfield that I think he hasn't been able to make as much the last few years. Partly could be to losing AJ Brown, so maybe that can work out with Hopkins now. But yeah, just I feel like he's lost a step, but I feel like he still does enough well to where I can say he's an average quarterback, and there's a reason why they win games with him. So gonna have Ryan Tannehill here at number 20. On to number 19, Matthew Stafford. So Stafford is a tough quarterback to rank in my opinion. Like after the Super Bowl year, I still had him ranked at 13. I was never the highest on Stafford, and I'll get into that. But there's still a lot to like, and there's a reason why I could see him making a jump back into the top 15 quarterbacks or taking a big step down, maybe due to age and injuries. But let's get into Stafford. So the reason why I've always been a little bit low on Stafford than most is because the accuracy. There's just plays he leaves on the field consistently with inconsistent accuracy. Whether it's deep, short, and immediate, he's been very inconsistent throughout his career with his accuracy. But there's so much to like. The elite arm that pops off the screen. Just the ability to fit the ball in any window, throw it as far as almost anybody in the league. Elite pocket presence, one of the best pocket passers in football. Solid under pressure, can get the ball out and make good throws when he's getting hit. Um, so that's to like about him, but he does take some sacks that you wish he wouldn't take, which holds him back a little bit. But the deep ball, 6 out of 10. I've always known he's had the arm. It's just hitting guys downfield accurately. He struggled throughout his career. That's why I've never had him as a 9 or a 10. I've had him as like an 8 mostly. But last year, he took a step down as far as being a deep passing threat. So I moved him down to a 6 out of 10. The throw on the run ability is something that I still like with his game. With being a big pocket quarterback, he can still move and make throws outside the pocket on the run. I feel like the decision making has always been a little bit of question mark with him. So just the accuracy of the decision making holds him back, in my opinion, and not being a rushing threat really at all. So I believe he's declining, and Stafford's still a good quarterback though. So I have him here in the average at 19. Um, could make that jump back into good. I know I just said he's good, but have him ranked as average. Um, but yeah, still a pretty solid quarterback in my opinion, who can maybe get back into the good, or I could see taking a step down. So be interesting to see what Stafford does in 2023. Coming in at number 18, Kenny Pickett, second-year quarterback for the Steelers. Now, Pickett is a guy who I think was probably honestly a little bit underappreciated coming out of Pitt. Talks that, maybe he's not a first-round talent. Malik Willis or Matt Corral is a better quarterback than him. No, I disagreed with those at the time, and I think he's kind of showed a little bit in his rookie year, flashes of what he can be as a quarterback. Starting off with what there is to like about Pickett, well, obviously, I think the clutch factor showed. He had 4 game winning drives last year, mostly in prime time. They needed him to make a big time they needed him to make a big time drive in prime time. He was able to do it, so I think that's nice to see. He has strong velocity and zip on his throws. Isn't going to wow you with throwing the ball deep downfield far, but he can definitely have velocity and zip on intermediate throws. Very clutch, as I mentioned. Good improviser. Throwing on the run ability is up there with some of the better ones in the league. I think for a rookie, he was pretty intelligent, good decision making quarterback. He did have the 8th lowest turnover worthy play rating, so made good decisions, goes through reads well. Um, Bailey could throw over the middle of the field. Well, I think areas he needs to improve accuracy. College, he was super accurate, so that was something I expected to kind of be good in the NFL, but it struggled as a rookie, which can happen. It was just inconsistent, not terrible by any means. So I think he's going to be one of the most improved accurate quarterbacks this year. So I think that's going to help him take a big jump into probably the top 15, maybe even higher than that, because I do think the future is bright for Pickett. And, if he can just get some chemistry with his big time receivers like Pickens downfield, make some throws downfield, improve that accuracy, improve the pocket presence because he does get a little panicky from time to time and will step into pressure and sacks, but it's overall pretty solid still. I just think over time he's gonna this year make quite a jump into maybe the top 15, 12 quarterbacks in the league. So I like Pickett a lot going into his second year. On to number 17, a quarterback who's coming off a big down year for his standards, Russell Wilson. Now, Russell Wilson, tough guy to rank because, yeah, last year it wasn't pretty, but I still believe he has enough in the tank to be an average quarterback. That's why I have him ranked here in the top 17 at average. But looking at his game, obviously the deep ball has been arguably the best in football for years now. Last year, I don't think it was quite that, but still very good. That's why I have it at 8 out of 10. Um, but just a lot of concerns in his game. First off, the special athletic ability just really wasn't there last year. He can still make throws on the run and run the football, but it wasn't special like it's been in the past. Um, he holds onto the ball very long and takes a lot of sacks. The pocket presence really struggles. It's one of the probably 10 most in football last year, in my opinion. So I think he still has that clutch factor though to his game, the rushing ability, the deep ball, to where if he can just become a little bit more consistent in the pocket as he ages, he can still be a good quarterback, but I don't think he showed that recently. I have him at average. Little concerned of how he'll fit in Sean Payton's offense, that quick decision maker of Drew Brees, the quick decision maker, the nice accuracy, which Wilson's had nice accuracy in the past, but it definitely fell off last year. But the pocket presence in a Sean Payton offense, I'm concerned with Wilson not being able to be that quick decision maker, consistent pocket passer that Sean Payton probably wants. So I'm concerned about the fit there. So it's going to be interesting to see how Wilson fits because Payton's a very good coach. If both of them can kind of adapt the games and come together, it can be a good connection. But if Wilson isn't going to become that strong pocket passer, then it may not work out. So a little concerned, but we'll see how he does in 2023. On to number 16, a guy who kind of surprised me and a lot of other people last year, Jared Goff. Jared Goff for the Detroit Lions threw 29 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions last year. So Jared Goff, what stands out about him is his pocket presence. Um, Very strong in the pocket, moves well in the pocket, gets the ball out to avoid sacks. So that's why his pocket presence is at a 7 out of 7, and his play under pressure 6 out of 7 because he gets the ball out and avoids sacks. Um, but some flaws in his game that hold him back from being in the good tier. The deep ball only a 4 out of 10. He doesn't stretch the field well or scale the defense with the deep ball. That's just how he's been throughout his career recently, and so I have his deep ball to 4 out of 10. Accuracy 10 out of 15. Solid, not great. We'll miss some throws from time to time, some bad misses. But overall, the mobility, rushing is only a 1 out of 5. Throw on run, solid, 3 out of 5. But really have question marks about his decision making. He'll throw the ball just right into coverage or to a receiver that's not open at all. But then, um, but then he'll have receivers that are open and he just won't throw it to them. So like that's a little bit of a question mark for me. So overall, Goff though showed enough last year to where I can say he's a pretty average quarterback. Let's see how he does with the Lions team that's hyped up to be good in 2023. On to number 15, the top quarterback in my average tier, Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a guy who has been um, kind of a lot of talk about him recently. He's been talked about as being a good quarterback, like maybe even borderline top 10, and some people have him low, like in the mid to low 20s. So kind of a guy who's all over the place. I'm kind of on a little bit the higher end of Fields. And he's a guy who I could see taking a jump into even the top 10 quarterbacks this year, and I'll explain why. So Fields, obviously what stands out with him is the athlete. Cannon of an arm. Best rushing quarterback in the league and one of the best we've ever seen. Good ability to escape pressure and make big time throws really is something that I think is underrated. Because people like to hate on his passing game, which yes, there needs to be improvement, and I think he did show improvements last year from his rookie year, and I think he's going to show more improvements this year. But he does have that ability to escape pressure and make big time throws on the run. That's why I have his play under pressure improved to 5 out of 7. What can that do to improve even more? He needs to get the ball out quick. Um, he needs to learn how to just sit there in the pocket and get the ball out quick. Which we did see some improvements last year, but not the quite improvements you'd want to see. So some improvements he needs to make, improving as a pocket passer, and really the intelligence. Overall, the intelligence makes a lot of bad decisions, kind of a slow processing speed. I think his problems are mentally processing speed and making throws quick and making the good reads. I think those are the biggest problems in his game. Which, if he can improve those and improve his accuracy a little bit, you're looking at a potential top 10, top 7 quarterback with his talent, with his deep ball, his rushing ability. Um, he needs to show those big clutch moments, which I think he'll hopefully start to show. So that's a little bit of concern. He hasn't been clutch. That's why the Bears lost a lot of games last year, a lot of close ones too. Um, so he definitely has a lot of flaws, but he has a lot to like with the talent. And I think the ceiling's high. And I just think the talent overall has to get him as a top 20 quarterback. And I have him at number 15. On to the good tier. Have a good chunk of quarterbacks in this tier too. I believe I have 8. 14, Mac Jones. So Mac Jones, he's one of kind of the surprises when I watched his film. It was better than I expected. His advanced numbers weren't amazing last year, so I expected his film to kind of reflect that. It really didn't much at all, in my opinion. I actually saw a lot I like in Mac Jones. So Mac Jones, he's one of those players when you watch him, you can just tell his receivers didn't help him much at all. Like he already had Matt Patricia as OC, wasn't the best fit, obviously, and his receivers, he was missing number one receiver. That's why I think that if they had Hopkins, it would have boosted this team a lot, in my opinion. But yeah, Mac Jones was really missing that number one receiver. Looking at his game, elite pocket presence, up there with the best in football. Kept clean grade was 5th in the NFL last year per PFF. So really love the pocket presence. Accuracy, fairly good. Had some moments where it was inconsistent in games last year, which holds it back to only 11 out of 15, but overall, he's still a very good, accurate passer. Deep ball is something that shockingly was actually pretty good. 8 out of 10. He was 11th in deep yards, and he could have even been higher than that because he threw a lot of good deep balls that just the receivers weren't able to go up and come down with. last year. So that's what I'm saying. He really is missing a number one, especially jump ball receiver. Um, so his deep ball improved from his rookie year. Solid decision making overall. Still fairly good at that in college, so I think that's going to continue to improve in the NFL. But yes, it's pretty solid at this point. Solid under pressure too. Can get the ball out, but not going to wow you and make plays outside the pocket on the run. So that's what holds him back is throw on the run, rushing. Needs to provide more clutch moments than he has, but if he can improve as far as just becoming one of the most accurate quarterbacks in football, and the smartest, he could rise up in the good tier and be in that like Kirk Cousins ish range because he's definitely has the pocket ability and the potential to be that top end accuracy, smart pocket quarterback in the NFL. Number 13, a guy who showed some very good moments last year, Tua Tagovailoa of the Miami Dolphins. I think he kind of displayed some of what he showed at Alabama and why he was drafted fifth overall last year with the Dolphins. So looking at Tua Tagovailoa, I think the accuracy is very good. 12 out of 15, been good throughout his career, and something I really like of his game. His accuracy and his pocket ability, and his ability to get the ball out quick. Now you could say maybe that has to do with the scheme, Mike McDaniel, quick receivers to get open quick, but he was able to pass accurately from the pocket and get the ball out quick. The deep ball, it's only a 7 out of 10, which is still solid. He was fourth in deep yards, but the reason why it's not higher than this is just because you can see he lacks the, amazing arm strength to throw the ball downfield, leading his receivers impressively. There was some plays where he has Tyreek Hill, Jay, and Waddle. They're quick. They can get open downfield. He can throw the ball. They can get under it, or reach back and get it and get him a deep completion to give him some yards. Overall, though, it's solid. Just doesn't really have the wow ability deep to be elite at that. The throw on the run, 3 out of 5. It actually impressed me. He was able to get outside the pocket and make some throws on the run. So that's impressive. The intelligence, though, 3 out of 5, solid. Would like to see it improve. If that can improve, he can really take another step. Really, if that can improve, he can continue to throw the ball downfield to those receivers, and just continue becoming one of the most accurate quarterbacks in football. Then he can improve and maybe even get into the top 10. Um, but I just think the talent throwing the ball downfield, um, not the amazing arm talent, the not being a big rushing threat, that can hold him back from ever being elite. But overall, he has the intangibles. If he can just, put it together, continue to put it together, he can have a very good career. One thing I'd like to see him improve on, though, the clutch ability. He really didn't have that it factor with those clutch drives that we'd like to see out of him. And the consistency, been somewhat inconsistent throughout his career. Moments where he's very good from the pocket. Okay, this guy can be a Kirk Cousins, one of the better pocket passers in football. And then he has moments where he's turning the ball over, costing his team games. So, you know, just needs to get more consistent. But overall, still a good quarterback with the intangibles, the traits he possesses to throw the ball accurately from the pocket. Just needs to improve as far as um, decision making and consistency, and he can maybe climb up this list a little bit. Number 12, I have Daniel Jones of the New York Giants. Now, Daniel Jones, I feel like he received too much hate for the first few years of his career, dealing with a bad situation, and he still showed the talent and ability to do some nice things on the field. But I feel like he really kind of put it together last year, and that's why he's at number 12. But let's get into Daniel Jones. So Daniel Jones, accuracy wise, he is very accurate. 12 out of 15. 12 out of 15 score for me. He was actually first in adjusted completion percentage last year. Fairly impressive. Reason why I don't have him higher accuracy wise is because a lot of that was not really pushing the ball downfield, having to make those big accurate throws downfield, so that holds him back a little bit. Deep ball, 5 out of 10. It's weird. Early in his career, he was really good with the deep ball, but recently, the last few years, he hasn't been doing it that much. And, part of that could be the receivers, okay, but I still like to see him stretch the ball downfield more to help him improve. But pocket presence, I thought really improved last year. I have it at a 6 out of 7. Just strong in the pocket, moves well, plays under pressure well with his athletic ability to run and make throws on the run, and to get the ball out under pressure. Um, Other things, rushing obviously is one of the probably 7 best in football, maybe even 5 best. I have that at a 4 out of 5. Intelligence, I'd like to see him speed up a little bit with his decision making. Solid decision making, but he could speed up the processing. Um, Hopefully, another year in Dable's offense will help that out. Um, Solid consistency. Needs to stay on the field. He did last year, but had problems staying on the field before that. So I like Daniel Jones a lot. I just think, if he can add another aspect to throwing the ball downfield to his game, he can really be one of the 10 best quarterbacks in football because he is talented and he's starting to get it together as far as an accuracy and pocket ability. So I think there's a lot to like about Daniel Jones moving forward. On to number 11, another one that might get some hate, Lamar Jackson. So Lamar Jackson just misses my top 10. And listen, there's something to like about Lamar. There's something to not like about Lamar. That's why I don't want to make this a Lamar hate segment, but I'm just going to explain myself why he's not in my top 10. So Lamar Jackson, obviously, he's been talked about as one of the better quarterbacks in football since he won MVP in 2019. Well, 2019 was great. The last few years, he struggled finishing seasons. He's had some little bit accuracy concerns. 21st in adjusted completion percentage last year. Had some shaky accuracy. He hasn't pushed the ball downfield super well. Part of that is weapons, yes, but part of it is him just overthrowing guys downfield. Um, Pocket presence, though, I actually think is pretty good. 5 out of 7. I think he stands strong in the pocket. He moves well in the pocket, and he can throw well from the pocket. Play under pressure, obviously, with his athletic ability, he's good at making plays under pressure, can throw on the run well. So there's lots to like. But the reasons why he's not in my top 10 is mainly because, I just don't think he's been a top 10 quarterback the last few years. And I think that the numbers do speak for themselves, not finishing a season. The deep ball has been not really like a huge part of his game. The accuracy has been inconsistent. The decision making, it's struggled from time to time. Although I wouldn't say it's horrible, it's struggled, and it's 2 out of 5 in my opinion. Um, I think he doesn't make the best reads all the time, doesn't have the best vision on the field, and he holds onto the ball way too long. That's a concern for me. Like to see him speed it up as far as he's a good pocket passer, but just speed it up as far as getting the ball out quick, making good decisions, and being more of a downfield threat, and he'll be right up back into that top 5 quarterback conversation. But just had a little bit of shaky last few years, in my opinion, so he's not ranked in my top 10. Now, though, they added him some receiving talent. Hopefully, the new scheme fits him a little bit better than the last scheme did. But yeah, obviously the rushing is there, the athlete is there, um, the ability to throw on the run is there. Um, I believe he's an underrated pocket passer, so I think there's a lot to like about him. Just a few things he needs to, improve on to get back in the top 10, in my opinion. At number 10, I have Aaron Rodgers. So Rodgers, we all know, Hall of Fame quarterback, now of the New York Jets, won MVPs a few years ago. But last year, it wasn't the prettiest, but he's still a top 10 quarterback, and I'm going to explain why. So, Aaron Rodgers, the parts that I've seen declining in his game is obviously with age, the athletic ability. No longer just has that special escapability outside of the pocket to make throws on the run and be a rushing threat, although he still isn't bad at that by any means. The accuracy did regress last year. He's always been one of the most accurate quarterbacks in football, but last year he did have very shaky ball placement. And he had a lot of hesitation in his game, I noticed. Just hesitating to make throws that you used to just see him be willing to rip in there and make those tough throws. Part of that could have been to do with the chemistry, the non-trust factor of having the new young receivers. So we'll see with Garrett Wilson how that'll work this year. But he's still special from a pocket presence. Wouldn't say it's like the best in football anymore, but it still is pretty special. The deep ball, although it's not like top of the league anymore, it's still pretty good. The intelligence, the making good decisions, it's not the best in football anymore, but it's still pretty good because he did have a little bit questionable decision making last year, time to time, but he's consistent. Yeah, the reason why he's not up there anymore is just I think he's declining a little bit in most of the aspects of his game. But you can still see those vintage Rodgers moments with those wow throws. The quick release is still there, the good velocity and zip on his throws. Can throw the ball over the middle good. Um, so yeah, still a lot to like about Rodgers. Just think he has a little bit that he's declined at that brings him down from the elite quarterback he once was, but he's still a very good top 10 quarterback in my opinion. On to number 9, Derek Carr of now the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr, You can say this is a controversial ranking. I totally understand it. He had a down year numbers wise last year. The team didn't win as many games as people expected, and they added Devontae Adams. But I still think Derek Carr is a top 10 quarterback, and here's why. Watching Derek Carr, his tape was still pretty very good in my opinion from last year. I had him seventh in both in 2021 and 2022 on these lists, so I was that high on him as what he did carrying them to the playoffs a few years ago. Now he moves down to number 9, so moves down a little bit, but still a very good quarterback. An accuracy standpoint, still fairly accurate. Before this would probably be a 13 out of 15. Did take a little bit of a step down as far as being a little bit of an inconsistent with his ball placement and some overthrows last year, which brings his accuracy down. But he's still overall a very accurate quarterback in my opinion. The deep ball is still there. One of the better deep balls in football, 9 out of 10. Um, Ninth in deep yards last year, so top 10 in deep yards still. Pocket presence, one of the best pocket passers in the league, have that at a 6 out of 7. So just the pocket presence, the deep ball, the accuracy, and the ability to get the ball out quick under pressure and really even make throws when getting hit, I think is special. So all of that makes him a top 10 quarterback in my opinion. And you add on top of that, he is clutch. He was the clutchest quarterback in football in 2022. Last year wasn't quite that, but he's still been a clutch quarterback over the course of his career, kind of like a Matthew Stafford. Um, Things that hold him back, though, from being higher than this, obviously, we know he isn't a special athlete, isn't going to make too much throws outside the pocket. Um, Part of his game last year, the decision making, he made some bad reads and just throws into coverage, and he made some early throwaways in the red zone. He struggles with throwing the ball away too quick in the red zone and not being aggressive. Um, so those are some flaws in his game, but overall, there's a lot to like. Like I said, accuracy, deep ball, pocket presence, play under pressure, clutch ability. I think he's still a top 10 quarterback, and I think he's going to have a bounce back year with the Saints this year. On to number 8, a quarterback who maybe has been in like the borderline top 10 to top 15 as talked throughout his career, but I believe had a probably career year last year, winning 13 games, 8 comeback, fourth quarter comebacks, 8 game winning drives. Kirk Cousins was clutch last year, and I think he is a top 10 quarterback as of right now. So Kirk Cousins, what stands out is the pocket presence. Fairly strong pocket presence. It's almost robotic like. I think he's the second best pocket passer in football behind Joe Burrow. Fairly good at getting the ball out quick under pressure, even making throws while getting hit. Underrated ability to throw on the run, although it still isn't special. It's 2 out of 5. It's not a 1 out of 5. Rushing, 2 out of 5, not a 1 out of 5. He's not just a stationary quarterback. He can move, roll out, and make some throws on the run. The deep ball, 8 out of 10. He was actually third in deep yards last year. I just don't think he has the wow arm talent to be higher than 8 out of 10 deep ball wise, but he's still very good at that. The clutch ability. In the past, it wasn't there, but last year, it was there. 8 game winning drives, 8 fourth quarter comebacks. Um, he's consistent. Just so much to like about Kirk Cousins' game. What holds him back from being in the elite tier, because I do think he's one of the best pocket quarterbacks in football, as I said, is obviously, well, I think he's an underrated athlete. He isn't special with the athletic ability or the arm talent. And he does make some questionable decision making, questionable vision, just will throw the ball with defenders right there looking to go in front of it. So just things like that. Um, could I see him being higher than 8? Probably not. I think this is about his peak, what he did last year. So a guy who maybe I could see in the top 10 again last year, but it wouldn't shock me if he was like back to like 12th or 13th, where we usually expect Kirk Cousins to be ranked. On to number 7, the shocker of the 2022 NFL season as far as quarterbacks go, Geno Smith. Now, Geno Smith, he was kind of just a journeyman backup quarterback throughout his career, after being, I believe, second round pick way back in like 2012 or something. But he really flashed last year for Seattle. And I think people know he flashed too. A lot of people would agree that he was a top 10 quarterback last year. And I'm going to get into some stuff about Geno. First off, Geno, he led the league in completion percentage. He was 5th in adjusted completion percentage. Accuracy was there. I have it at 13 out of 15. Fairly good accuracy. Any part on the field, really. Deep ball, 9 out of 10. He was 8th in deep yards. He was the highest graded deep passer per PFF. Just that special deep ball connection with Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. Fairly good in the pocket, 5 out of 7. Reason why it's not higher is because he'll struggle to sense pressure sometimes. His pocket awareness isn't the best. Um, he's not the best at protecting his blind side. Will often take some tough hits. And but overall, throw on the run was there. 4 out of 5. Could make just wow throws, like throws that only a handful of quarterbacks in the NFL you see making. And Geno made those tough throws last year. Um, but yeah, some of the flaws that hold him back from being in the borderline elite or elite tier, the intelligence. He was 33rd in turnover worthy play percentage. Made a lot of bad throws that probably should have been picked off or were picked off. But I think that he has a good enough system around him to where that's not something that's going to be big problem to cost Seattle games this year. Um, Clutch ability, solid. Needs to kind of show those big clutch moments. Hopefully those will rack up. And a little bit inconsistent. Started the year very strong last year. Slowed down a little bit towards the end, but was still very good. So I think Gino, a lot to like. Just one of the best deep ball throwers in football. And he's accurate and he's a good pocket player. Gets the ball out under pressure. He can throw on the run. He can run. He's an athlete. Just so much to like in his game. I have him here at number 7. On to the borderline elite guys. The guys who are not quite elite, but they're pretty close. And number 6, Justin Herbert. I had him in the elite tier last year going into the year. Um, Moved him down a little bit, but he's still a very good player. What makes Herbert special is just the talent pops off the screen. Um, Pocket presence is up there with almost any other quarterback in football. Something that he's been very consistent at throughout his career, which is something that's hard to be consistent at, is being good under pressure. Ability to, take tough hits from the pocket. He takes almost as many tough hits as any quarterback in football. He's very tough from the pocket. We know the athlete he is to throw on the run. He wasn't the biggest rushing threat last year as far as past years, like past years he was, but I think that's something he can get back to. The deep ball, 8 out of 10. It's good and it's very good when he does it. It's just I wish he would push the ball downfield more than he does. That's why it's not higher. Accuracy, very good, 12 out of 15. Was actually second in adjusted completion percentage last year. Um, but yeah, we know just Herbert's a very good player. How can you get back into the elite tier? Just maybe the intelligence needs to get a little bit more to where it's just like, okay, good decision after good decision. And just really, really continue to progress. Maybe attack the ball downfield more, and he'll be back in the elite very soon. At number 5, the big breakout quarterback of last year, Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, just watch the Super Bowl. He was elite in the Super Bowl. Is he elite overall? I think he's fairly close to it, but he was elite in the Super Bowl. Just looking at Jalen Hurts' game, we all know the athlete he is and the strong rushing ability he has. But as far as a pocket passer and accuracy last year, he took a big stride. I mean, like his accuracy, he was fourth in adjusted completion percentage last year after, a lot of people questioning can he be an accurate NFL thrower. So that was impressive. The pocket presence, 6 out of 7, very poised and calm in the pocket. Um, his deep ball, 8 out of 10. Doesn't maybe have the best arm strength in the league, but it's still good, and he can make some accurate, nice throws downfield. Um, Fairly strong throwing over the middle of the field. Um, Only real knocks on his game, really, in my opinion, is with actually took strides. It's good. Can it stay consistent? And he's a little bit inconsistent with the ball placement, I'd say, as far as leading receivers and stuff. Um, and the throw on the run, it's good. But can it become special like a Allen Mahomes to get into that elite tier? So, lot to like. His intelligence, decision making, fairly good last year. Smart quarterback. Just a little inconsistent. He had those moments towards the end of the season. Was dealing with injuries and early in the playoffs where it's like, okay, we know the Eagles are a really good team. Is Jalen Hurts a really good quarterback? Answer is still yes, but you'd like to see those playoff games before the Super Bowl. Him just put together those takeover moments like you've seen Allen, Mahomes, Burrow do. So Jalen Hurts, fairly good, borderline elite. I have him ranked at number 5. At number 4, Top of the borderline elite tier. I think he'll be in the elite tier after this season. Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So Trevor Lawrence, talent is obviously popping off the screen. That's why he was the number one pick. Many people said he was generational talent. Cannon of an arm, one of the best arms in football, fits the ball in super tight windows. Very accurate thrower, eighth in adjusted completion percentage last year. Um, One of the best pure pocket passers too in football. Strong in the pocket, tough. Um, Play under pressure, pretty good. 5 out of 7. He has very good throw on the run ability. I would say. Overall decision making took strides from his first year. Still like to see him take another step into being an elite decision maker to help get him into the elite quarterbacks. The deep ball, a little bit holding him back from being elite. Obviously, we know he's a good deep ball passer and he has the arm talent to be. It's just he hasn't quite been super aggressive downfield. That's why it's only at 7 out of 10 and not higher than this. But he has all the talent to jump into the elite tier. And I think he showed that elite talent by being one of the best quarterbacks up there with Mahomes and Burrow down the stretch of last year. I believe he had a stretch where he was like 21 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, or something crazy like that. And he won a playoff game for Jacksonville with an historic comeback. He improved throughout the season. He's improving. I expect him to be even higher than this after next year. On to the big three, the elite three. I think the three best quarterbacks in football right now. Number three, though, is Josh Allen. So, Josh Allen, we all know, special talent. One of the best physically talented quarterbacks we've ever seen. Um, Deep yards, he was first last year, 10 out of 10 deep ball. We know that he has a laser of an arm and he's shown the ability to use it, being first in deep yards last year. Pocket presence, something that he's improved throughout his career. 6 out of 7. Impressive ability to move out of the pocket too and make throws on the run, as well as step up in the pocket and fire a dart just anywhere on the field. Very good improviser under pressure. Up there with Mahomes for the best throw on run quarterback in the NFL. We know he's an elite rusher. He's had his clutch moments too. Um, Reason why he is not like up there with the top two, other than they are just really good, is um, we have seen a little bit inconsistent stretches of play or games throughout his career. Accuracy has always been a little inconsistent, although it's definitely improved from his early parts of his career. Um, so just those things and the reckless kind of style to his game, as far as he will hold on to the ball and run around too much sometimes, but overall, amazing player. He's actually been the highest graded under pressure quarterback the last 2 years in per PFF. So that's impressive. He's really good at improvising under pressure and just making throws while being under pressure. But yeah, Allen, very good, just not quite the top two, but definitely an elite quarterback in my opinion. My number two quarterback in the NFL, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, just, he was under his rookie year, but just the last 2 years, you can make a case he's the best quarterback in football based off the last 2 years. I think one guy still edges him out, but Burrow has been excellent the last 2 years. He's just the definition of a prototypical pocket quarterback, but he's also a very good athlete too. Like accuracy, 15 out of 15. I think he's the most accurate quarterback in football. Deep ball, 10 out of 10. It was a little bit better in his second year, 2021, the Super Bowl year, than it was in 2022, but still excellent. Very good pocket presence from Joe Burrow. 7 out of 7. I think he's the best pocket passer in football. Play under pressure, very good too. Ability to stand in the pocket and just make an accurate throw while getting hit. Um, Intelligence, 5 out of 5. He reads the defense very well, makes very good decisions with the ball. He's consistent. Um, why isn't he number one? Just because number one is Patrick Mahomes, like all time talent. And I think Burrow can potentially be talked about as an all time talent too. Just with his just everything. He's so complete, accurate, deep ball, pocket, smart, and he can run and he can make throws on the run, although he isn't going to wow you with that. And he has that clutch trait. Took the Bengals to the championship last year, championship game, AFC title game, and took them to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Just so much to like about Joe Burrow, and he's still young and only getting started what he's going to do in his career. On to number one, Patrick Mahomes. Well, Joe Burrow is so good and he's a stud. Patrick Mahomes has to be number one. Coming off another Super Bowl, a Super Bowl MVP, a regular season MVP. I mean, Mahomes, he's making that case to already be a top 10 quarterback all time. Now that I think it's widely considered Mahomes is arguably the most talented quarterback of all time, just what makes him so great? Just really every part of his game. You know, deep ball 9 out of 10. You can make a case it's a 10 out of 10. Um, I know the arm strength is obviously a 10 out of 10, but I think, you know, there's a few guys who I think throw the deep ball just a little bit better than Mahomes. That's why it's not a 10 out of 10. But accuracy, 14 out of 15. I think he took a step last year as far as a pocket quarterback. I had his pocket grade of 5 out of 7 last year, and his accuracy, well, it was good. It wasn't really top notch in my opinion. Now I think he's even one of the best pocket passers in football. He was actually graded the best clean or kept clean quarterback last year per PFF. He's accurate. The play under pressure is just fantastic. You know, now you look at Mahomes, you blitz him, he gets even better under the blitz. You leave him in the pocket, he's gonna find a completion somehow. Intelligence, I think, took a step too. Decision making was very good last year. Um, we obviously know he doesn't run at a high rate, but when he runs, he's very effective. So I gave him a 4 out of 5. Um, the talent is just off the screen. Very good at diagnosing pressure and then making the right play quickly, not phased by pressure at all. Consistently makes the right read. Elite accuracy and velocity to fit balls in tight windows. Makes just wild throws at an unreal rate that you just don't even think a quarterback should be making. Improved as a pocket passer, as I mentioned. Ability to step up in the pocket and throw. Fairly good footwork and elusiveness to make defenders miss in and outside the pocket. And like I said, just stepped up his pocket game in 2022 and just really just he's the best quarterback in football. Does that mean he's going to win MVP every year? Probably not, but I think in general you have to say Mahomes is the best quarterback in football, and I think coming off of last year he showed that. So there is my top 40 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Um, be sure to comment why I'm wrong or where I'm wrong on these rankings. I know they're controversial. I think we can all agree though I have the top 3 correct, but they're controversial outside of that. Um, But yeah, I'm going to come out with projected rankings, which will be much different because I'm projecting how quarterbacks will play this season in that video and factoring in like the situation. This is not factoring in situation at all. This is just ranking the quarterbacks, putting them in any situation. How do I think they fail? How do I think the skill set is, the traits? That's why you saw the criteria. So this is my, in general, quarterback rankings. Thank you for watching and debate me in the comments. Peace.